Alright, so today we're going to be playing two tech decks, one Nod, one GDI. And the main thing we're going to be taking note of is how often, what number of combat units can we get on the field when we have double harvester. So my thinking is it's pretty much, it's generally speaking from my experience, it's 3 combat units first missile, 4 combat units after that. I'm not sure exactly when the Tiberium and Popcap ramps. I think it's about the same time. But yeah, the Popcap does also ramp. I don't know if everyone already knows this. Like, a lot of people who've been playing Raz for a long time probably already knew this, but some of you definitely won't have known this, because it's one of those things that's not explained anywhere in the game. But it's not just the Tiberium income that ramps, it's also your Popcap. This is one of the main reasons, actually, why tech decks get so much better in the late game. Like, obviously people are like, oh, well, in the late game you can just spam out tech units because you have 2 harvesters. That is part of it, but another large part... I'm just going to check if I'm getting rushed. I am getting rushed, so I'm not going to go double halve. Another large part of it is actually that the Popcap ramps up, which means you just actually can build more units the later the game goes. And because you can just actually have more units the later the game goes, that means that as a tech deck, suddenly your second harvester is not as much of a constraint as it normally would be, because you're no longer like heavily limited on combat units, because you actually can build 4 units. Like, the difference between having 3 combat units versus 4 and having 4 versus 5 is obviously huge. Like, you're so much better off having 4 versus 5 than 3 versus 4, especially when there's 3 pads on the map. Because obviously if you have 3 pads on the map and you can only make 3 combat units, then you have 1 unit per pad, basically, which gives you no additional room for another unit coming in. Like, if you think about how combat works, if you want an extra unit on the way forwards as your other unit is about to die, if you only have 3 unit availability, then what happens is your unit is about to die and you can't replace it because you're not allowed to build a new one until the 3rd one has died. Obviously I know I meant to go double halve, but this guy actually rushed me, so I wasn't going to go double halve into a rush. That's excessive. So now we will attempt to double halve. Like, if you see how long the cooldown is on my next unit. I have 5 units in play currently, including the harvester. The cooldown on my next unit is incredibly long. If you saw just then, there actually was a tiny jump. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to go back and check. You'll see that as the cooldown was going, there was like a little... There's another hump there. That was because I lost a unit. But if you look at the watch, you'll see it again here if I lose this guy. You see how it jumps up because you lose a unit, so now your Popcap is changed. Now, if you were to do this, if you pay attention to the timings, you will see this also happens at certain times in the game, not just when you lose units. There's also like actual timestamps in the game where the Popcap does actively increase. So, as you can see, I have 4 combat units here. And my Popcap is incredibly slow for the next unit. Like, look how slow it is for the next unit. It's going to take ages to get another unit, because I have 4 combat units plus 2 harvesters. If you pay attention to this ramping up, if that was earlier in the game, if that was like first missile, there's no way that 4th unit, that 4th combat unit plus 2 harvester would be the one that's super slow. Oh no, wait, I've just seen that the commander is supposed to be Jade on the Scarab deck. My bad. I cannot believe the commander is Jade. How is the commander Jade? I guess we have Chuggy, but yeah. Alright, so as you can see, second unit, pretty quick, the cooldown on it. We have to wait until the barracks is open to show the... Oh, am I getting rushed again? What's in here? Chuggy? That's not good. I'm going to need to go mutant first unit. Probably going to lose a harvester here to the buggy rush. Yeah, definitely going to lose a half here. So look at this cooldown on this next unit. So it's not super long, right? It's quite long, but it's not like insane. You can clearly build another unit there. Like, it takes a little while, but you can obviously build another unit. So this unit here is fine, but look at the cooldown on this one. Look how long it is. Like, this is such a long time to get another unit. It's kind of nuts. I think my Scarab will trade, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it did trade. That's good. So you can see, like, I have 2 combat units. I can get a 3rd one after a little while, but it's quite a long time, right? Like, it's not slow, but it's not fast. Whereas look at this one. You see how it's like turned red as well? This is like maxed out Popcap for this time in the game. Look at how long it takes to get another unit. This is so long that, like, there's no... It's pretty unrealistic that you won't lose a unit in this amount of time. So almost always, your next combat unit comes out when you lose something. Because look at how long it takes. I've finally managed to get there, so I can now get another unit. But you can see how incredibly long it is. And we're also at 130, so it's actually probably just ramped up. That's probably why we were able to get another unit. So here we have 4 combat units, and look at the timing for the next one. You see how incredibly long it is? Like, this is actually just... This is the point at which it's effectively impossible to get another combat unit. Like, look, it still takes forever. And then as soon as we lose a unit, instantly can build another one. Because the way the Popcap works is your unit is cooling down. As long as you have a unit built, and you, like, as long as there is a unit built, your next unit is on cooldown. This is why it's very important to build units, like, almost as quickly as you can. Because you want this cooldown to be running. What happens when this unit dies? See how it jumps up? I instantly can build another unit when that one dies. But now I've built the Scarab. Look how long it is for the next unit. So I have 3 combat units. The next one's going to be a little while. It's not impossible. Like, it's not an insanely long time. But the next one is a little while. And then as soon as we build it, this cooldown is absurdly long. But what happens when the Scarab dies? So the reason you want to have the cooldown running is when the unit dies, if your cooldown matches the amount of time for the next unit down, you will immediately be able to produce something. So because we're halfway to this unit, once one dies, which this dies, instantly can build another one. That's why it's important to have the cooldown running, because you are effectively losing out on the chance to build more units the longer you wait on building a unit. Like, if I was to lose every second you are not having the cooldown running, if you think about a traditional RTS, in a normal RTS, the way that building a unit works is you click the unit, you pay the resources, and then there's a build time. And the amount of time, it takes X amount of time for the unit to produce, right? That's how it works. That's how it works in a normal RTS. Rivals is kind of like the reverse. So you build the unit and you get it instantly, but then there's a cooldown time. So if you don't have that cooldown running, it's the same as not producing a unit in a traditional RTS. Like, you have to wait longer to get your next unit as long as you don't have the cooldown running. Which is why one of the most important things in Rivals, if you want to get better at Rivals, one of the most important things is to make sure you're using your Popcap as much as you possibly can. There are obviously exceptions to this rule, like you don't want to get completely Popcapped and then have your opponent tech switch and not be able to answer it. But if you're not winning the game comfortably, you should be using all of your Popcap. It's only when you're so far ahead that you can afford to keep a Popcap back for countering that you should not be using all of your Popcap. So if you're in if the game is close or you're losing, you need to be building a new unit as soon as you possibly can. And that is like that's the number one. When I was coaching, that was like the number one tip I gave people. I'd be like, you have to use your cooldown because the more units you have, the more likely you are to win combat. All right, so back to this. I guess we don't necessarily have to open Double Harvester. The important thing is to talk about how this Popcap cooldown works. So if you go halve into Scout, you will see that the cooldown on the unit number 3, this is like a normal gameplay, right? Cooldown on the number 4. Cooldown number 4 is not too bad. Like, it doesn't take too long to get the 4th unit. And then if you watch what happens when this guy dies, you'll see... Unit lost. Oh, actually, it didn't really do much there. I thought I was expecting that to jump a lot more than it did. But you can see how I have like 2 combat units, right? And like my 3rd combat unit is taking a little while. It's not a crazy amount of time. It's certainly like, it's not so long that you just can't get a 3rd unit. But it is long enough that most of the time you're going to be sitting on 2 combat units rather than 3. Which is pretty bad. And then this 4th one, just impossible. Like, it just takes forever. Like, it just never comes out. So you actually need to start actively losing things before you can get another unit. I don't think I can win this missile. I cannot win this missile. So that's not surprising because you have Double Harvester. So as you see, like, even the 3rd combat unit takes like a little while to get. So I'm basically trying to fight with like 2 to 3 combat units. As long as I have Double Harv, in the early game I'm trying to fight with 2 to 3 combat units. Which is clearly not enough. Like, here is where I can finally get a 4th combat unit. It just takes absolutely forever. Whereas once we get later in the game, the Popcap will ramp up, get some zones. In fact, even now, at 1 minute 43, it's still 3 combat units, basically. Yeah, look at this. I'm basically still locked into 3 combat units. And this is almost 2 minutes in. The thing about tech, though, is the longer you don't lose units for, you can, like, slowly ramp up your production by not losing units. Because obviously there is a cooldown and it is long, but it's not infinite. So if your 3 combat units live long enough, then you can make unit number 4 eventually. Which is another reason that tech decks do well later on, because once you get late enough, and your units aren't dying anymore. Like, look at how long it's been. It's been ages, but I haven't lost any units because all my units are expensive and powerful. So I can finally get combat unit number 4. And if you just keep not losing units, then you'll end up with more units than your opponent. This is true, like, obviously in Rivals, unit preservation is nowhere near as important as other RTSs. Because of the Popcap mechanic, you do want to trade off your units. But if you are dominating someone and winning, like, all the engagements without losing units, you will end up just having, like, 1 more unit on the field than them. Because you're constantly having that cooldown running. So it's like you're producing more units. Just make more units is, like, the best thing you can do in Rivals. I'm interested in this because I haven't really, you know, I just play the game through instinct a lot of the time these days. I don't really, like, know numbers that well. But I'm surprised at how long it's taking me to get to combat unit number 4. I thought that by, like, 1 minute 40 or 2 minutes, the 4th combat unit would be pretty easy with 2 Harvester. But that so far has just not been the case. Yeah, you know you're going to get Scarab Rushed, son. You know it's time. Now, we're playing Avatar with Phantom, so we have to assume that we win whatever tech mirror we have. We'd beat pretty much everything with double half. We lose to Basilisk, I guess, is the main thing. Like with Avatar deck, Basilisk is the #1 thing you're going to end up losing to. So yeah, you see here, combat unit number 3. That one actually ends up being combat unit number 2 again, because my unit died just as the cooldown was finishing. But combat unit number 3, you can see it's not unreasonable to get the 3rd one. Like, that's quite easy to do. But the way Rivals works as well, like, it's really bad to have a single unit on its own doing something, right? That's like, the way the Rivals mechanics work, it is just kind of terrible to have a single unit doing something on its own. Like, you really want 2 units together to complement each other. Like, it's called combined arms, and it is how most good decks in Rivals work, is you do combined arms. So you put 2 things together that work really well, like Mutant and Chuggy, for example. Or Sniper and Missile. Like, this is how most Rivals decks function, is you put 2 units together that cover each other's weaknesses. Buggy and Tank, for example. And that's how Rivals decks work. So putting 1 unit on its own usually is terrible. This is why you need to be, like, to go to Harvester, you need really big units that do stuff really well on their own, like Orca and Tech units and Inferno, like things that can kind of just 1v1 almost everything in the game. He does have Basilisk, sad. Let's kill the halves. Actually, let's get the Scarab to kill the Basilisk. I have faith. Oh, I forgot to change to Jade. I am supposed to be playing Jade. I will try and remember to do that after this. Go on, Scarab, you can do it. Alright, Scarab couldn't do it. But yeah, you can see here, actually, like, even combat unit number 4 is kind of slow. Even at 2 minute 20, I have 2 Avatars and a Phantom. And combat unit number 4 is taking forever. I'm surprised by this. I genuinely thought it would be quicker. But it did actually just, it looked like it just popped there at about 2 minute 30. Like, that unit just suddenly became available surprisingly quickly. So I think maybe 2:30 is the final Popcap ramp.
You are victorious.
3, 2, 1. New objective available.
I think we'll stick with the 1 halve and then the scouty units rather than blind double harvester. The decks are decent enough in the early game that I don't need 2 harvester. Like, obviously 2 harvester is good, but I can win the early engagements because my decks are not trashed here in the early game, so I can play 1 halve. I don't think he should have moved the flame because now he just takes a bunch of damage. I'm gonna go double half here because he has the flamers. Yeah, he shouldn't have moved the flame. Like, he actually would have won that engagement if he hadn't moved the flame. You have to be fully on defense with both your rifles in a concave to beat a flamer 2v1. If you're late to the party, like I was there, like I was slightly late with the second one, the flamers will win. So him moving is the only reason I won that engagement.
Unit ready.
So yeah, you see there, I got 3rd combat unit and it wasn't too unreasonable. Now I'm gonna, as soon as I'm down to 1 combat unit, the next one, the 4th unit here is basically a free roll. Like as soon as I'm down to 3 units, I can build one instantly. But then unit number 5, which is this one, takes a little bit longer. And then unit number 6 effectively takes forever. Like unit number 6, you can see it effectively takes so long that it's just not realistically going to come out before you lose something. But because I have this cooldown running, as soon as I lose the unit, as soon as I go down to 2 combat units, I can immediately build the 3rd one because I have the cooldown running. And you see here, if you just keep winning, if you keep winning your engagements and not losing units, then eventually you can get to another unit and you have like 4 combat units there. So I have 6 units on the field now, which is a huge number. And watch, right, when this dies, this should jump up quite a bit. It jumped up a little bit, it didn't jump up a huge amount. That's probably just because the unit number, what is this, unit number 6? Yeah, unit number 6 is a slow cooldown. So even losing a unit, but then again, because I've won the engagements, because I have constant cooldown running, I can get back to a 6th unit reasonably quickly. Whereas look at what he has. He has 2 halves, 2 bikes. So he has 4 units to my 5 right now. Now he has 5, but I'm going to get to 6 before he gets to 6. So yeah, basically having unit on cooldown is very, very good, is the moral of the story. Like, the only time you don't want unit on cooldown is when you're absolutely dominating, and then you can respond to a tech switch. But if your unit composition on the field can handle most things anyway, which it should, you should be aiming to build a unit composition that can handle most things anyway. Like, for example, with this deck, before I get tech units, I'm looking to have like a Razorback, a Pitbull or 2, and a Missile Trooper maybe. That can beat pretty much everything. Like, there's no unit that can come out where I'm like, oh, I just can't fight this at all. Like, I have something for everything in my unit composition. So then it's okay to be Popcapped. What you don't want to do is Popcap yourself and then have your opponent be like quadruple Banshee, and you're like, oh, I have 2 chems, 2 tanks, and you have quadruple Banshee. That's the worst. That's when things go real bad.
3, 2, 1. New mission received.
LT Techs. Alright, LT Techs.
Building online.
What's the deal? I do think that is an interesting topic to cover, the whole PopCap thing, because I haven't really talked about it much on my stream or on YouTube, and it is an incredibly important part of the game. It is like the most important part of the game that the game doesn't explain to you at all. Like, it's the kind of thing you just have to learn by playing, because the game never explains it to you in any way, which is very annoying. Tutorial does like a terrible job of explaining the game, explaining the PopCap mechanic, and it's like the most important mechanic to understand as well. We both know you're going to move your harvester back onto the tip, my guy, and then you're going to get mutant in the ass. He actually didn't. He showed great restraint, which is annoying for me, because now... Am I going to lose this missile? That would be a beating. Alright, cool. I was worried he was going to flip me by moving both. Normally I'd just let the mutants eat the buggy that's trying to move in, but I was worried they'd live long enough to fire the missile against me. What's in here? Chuggy. Oh, I don't want a Chuggy. I guess I'll just make another mutant to fight these buggies. But yeah, you see here, 3rd combat unit doesn't take that long to make. 4th combat unit, absolutely forever. Like, look how long this is. We should time it, but like, what was it, like 120 or something? Maybe a little bit, like maybe a little earlier than that. So now we're up to so that's 10 seconds at least to make another unit. There, do you see that tiny jump there? Again, if you're on YouTube, you can go back and check. But if you were paying attention, you would have seen there was a tiny little hike at about 130 or like 135, and that is the PopCap ramping. I'm actually interested. Is it every 30 seconds? I'm not sure how often it happens. We should pay attention to this. Maybe in the next game I'll try and pay attention to when those little hikes come up.
3, 2, 1. New objective.
You right, Rodney, you right. It is, yeah, the price of coffee when you go out and buy coffee is kind of obscene.
Unit ready.
Alright, we'll try and go second half now. He opened, yeah, I was going to say he opened missiles, so he's probably going to have shocks or snipers. Let's get the second half. I think it'll be fine. He's going to go second shock trooper here. Oh, look at this cheeky into the concave. Absolutely ruined, my guy. Absolutely ruined. I guess I'll make a pitfall.
Unit ready. Unit lost.
Yeah, so you see I can't make a combat unit, but when this thing dies, instantly make a combat unit.
Unit ready.
And then actually making the third combat unit is taking a pretty long time. I'm gonna lose this missile. I need to pay attention to these ramps and see if they are coming out when I think they are. Is it every 30 seconds? I feel like it might be every 30 seconds.
Unit ready.
Let's try and pay attention to 1 minute 30 and see if we get a little cheeky ramp.
Building online. Unit lost. Unit enhanced.
We're about to hit 1 minute 30.
Unit lost.
Oh, I didn't see because my unit died at exactly the same time. And we instantly got Popcap. It was impossible to check. Oh shit, son. This man has a hammerhead.
Unit lost. Missile launched.
Alright, let's have a look at 2 minutes. Oh no, this guy's gonna die. It didn't look like it. Oh, hang on.
Ready.
No, it didn't look like it was at 2 minutes. I didn't see a little jump there. Although it's possible it was such a small jump because it was so close to the start of the Popcap.
Unit lost.
It's very hard to test, honestly.
Unit lost.
Very hard to check the right times on this. Let's keep an eye on it. There was a little hike there at like 2:18 or something. That's a weird timing. Maybe I just imagined it. That seems like a very odd timing.
Unit lost. Unit ready.
There didn't appear to be one at 2:30. But you can see how this is why people often pull their half with tech deck. Because look how much money I have. I like actually just have more money than I can spend with double halve.
Enhanced.
So usually you pull the harvester to get a Popcap. You effectively get a Popcap back by using one of your harvesters as a pad holder.
You are victorious.
Underwhelming. Do you guys see this guy's alliance name? I can't check it now, but I'm pretty sure his alliance name was infantry units are and then slur. Infantry units are homosexual slur, I believe was his name. Oh no, I don't have missiles. This is not good. I could try and defend with scarabs, but I think I'm better off just trying to save for the 60 and go mutant.
Unit ready.
Control the crystals. Ready to serve.
Now, are we going to save our half, chat? What do we think? No, can't block with PC. Feels bad, man. Can't block PC user. Feels bad.
What's needed? We're ready. What?
Building online. Unit ready.
I feel like you definitely get bike rush more in unranked. I guess because it's like a thing that people... I don't know why they hate rushing so much, by the way. Like, they nerfed rushing quite a lot during the history of Rivals. I'm not really sure why. Rushing was never a particularly good strategy, and just they kept hating on it. Kind of need my Jade missile here. Yeah, you know what? I'm doing it. Alright, GG, get fucked. How am I gonna fight this this Giga Cannon? This is a legitimate concern for me. I don't know how to fight a Giga Cannon with this deck. It's quite difficult to use Chem Buggy to kill Flamer that's guarded by Giga Cannon now. Because you used to be able to like go in, put the cloud down and just run away, but now the cloud takes so long. You have to take like an ass load of damage to get in there. What's in my tech lab? I've got Avatar. That'll definitely beat a Giga Cannon if I can get there. So that's probably my play. Just try and double halve. I can also just Jade Missile again, but I don't think that's a good long-term strategy. Maybe I can sneak in and Jade Missile here.
Catalyst missile incoming.
Ooh, that was a good hit. That was a pretty good hit.
Is ready.
We're gonna kill this bike in time? I think we are.
Missile
Yeah, get wrecked.
unit offline.
Come on, man. That one was pretty egregious, actually.
Nuclear missile launched.
I feel like we should have had that block for sure. How close is the Avatar? Like, not remotely? It's a shame. If you're making 60 cost units, it is quite difficult to get to Avatar, to be fair. But he has Chuggy as well. How exciting.
Unit offline.
But he has Chuggy Giga. That is a deck that used to be way more popular than it is now. Still pretty far from Avatar. Ah, we really need the Avatar, I think. I'm just gonna wait for it. No Oksana is gonna be a beating here. It's gonna take the Avatar a little while to get into play. Now I assume he's gonna make Banshee, which I don't really have a good answer to. I have to follow up with Scarabs because I actually don't have a decent anti-air unit here. Isn't that insane? Like if he makes a Banshee, I have to make like Scarab to fight it. He made Phantom. That's not gonna do it, my guy. That is not gonna do it. Actually, having to use Scarabs as my anti-air because I don't have a good anti-air unit here. Isn't that insane? Amazing. I mean, obviously I have Phantom, don't get me wrong, I understand there's a Phantom in my deck, but the cooldown, like the cost of the Phantom was prohibitive in that spot. I couldn't afford to go Avatar into Phantom. When is an appropriate time to stop building units in order to save for a higher cost unit? That is contextual. I would say that, generally speaking, it's appropriate to save for a higher cost unit if you simply cannot win the matchup. Like, for example, your opponent has a Giga Cannon and you have only bikes. You have to save for the next unit up because you can't win with bikes. Or like tanks and you only have bikes. You can spam bikes, but it's like not a great play because your opponent will just make a second tank and then you'll get run over. So generally speaking, yeah, well, like what Nodcross said, like when you can't win without the more expensive unit is an appropriate time to save. Also, it's very rare that you should fully stop building units. Most decks have like rifles and missiles or dogs and missiles or wheels and missiles. You can make those whilst you're saving money because they cost so little that you'll be making money whilst making them. And then at least you're still fighting. In that situation, I didn't have anything that would hold up at all against the Flamers. Like, these things will... Like, the cheap units in my deck are Militant. Making Militant into the Flamers was pointless, because they would just literally... They wouldn't stall at all, they wouldn't even fight back, they'd just get wrecked. So I had to just save for Avatar. But if you have, like... If I had, like, dogs... If I had wheels, I definitely would have been spamming wheels and missiles whilst I waited for the Avatar. Donkey Punch? Great guy, Donkey Punch. I think I prefer the GDI deck. Because Rifle Missile, Razorback, Pitbull is like a pretty legit strategy. You don't really need to get to your tech in this deck. You can play without it. Whereas the Nod deck is like Mutant Chuggy, which is pretty bad right now. Chuggy just is not good enough anymore. Like that's the cold hard truth. Chuggy is just not a good enough unit anymore. So Mutant Chuggy. I'm gonna make a third rifle. I think a lot of people don't know this, but you can just 2v1 wheels with rifles. So you can just do this against wheels. Like if you're in a like for example in this exact situation where my opponent went wheels and rifles, I don't really want to make the missiles into the rifles. So I just made more rifles and I can just use a couple of rifles to fight the wheels. Obviously I don't win the fight, but I didn't do badly, and that's the important thing. Like it went okay. It wasn't good, but it went okay. I didn't just completely lose the map and without killing anything. What are you doing, Missile Trooper? Just fight the wheel, my guy. It's not rocket science. Oh shit, a Chuggy. That's... yeah, that's GG. There's no way I win this missile now.
Unit lost. Unit ready.
Or maybe there is?
Lost.
Maybe I can win it?
Unit lost. Warhead cancelled.
Oh, that's gonna die to the stealth tank.
Unit ready. Unit lost.
Oh, blocked.
Unit ready.
Okay, actually not dead yet, which is kind of insane. I thought for sure we'd be screwed by now.
Unit ready.
Oh my god, I won.
Nuclear weapon launched.
What a beast, chat. What a master of the game.
Unit lost.
Having to like put the Razorback holding against the stealth tank was definitely a very uncomfortable moment for me.
Unit ready.
But you know, needs must. Yo, leave me alone, man. You're not gonna catch my Razorback, so why even try?
Unit lost.
Do I go second half? I'd really like to get Zone Trooper, but I think given that we're pretty committed to the Razorback missile plan, I believe that we are looking for a 1/2 Zone Trooper here. Yeah, I think we're going 1/2 Zone.
Unit ready.
And then basically it's like we're playing Grens, right? Like we're playing like a Gren. It's like we're playing Gren Razorback, except it's Zone Trooper Razorback. Because the Zone Trooper can beat the Chuggy. Oh, I did just remember we're supposed to be doing 2/2 to see like how quickly can you build more units, and I instead just played 1/2 in this game. I actually think the Zone Trooper is worse than a Gren against vehicles. I'm not sure about that. Maybe it's like slightly better. Anyway, the Zone Trooper was pretty good in this game. It did just basically kill like two Chuggies there. Yeah, I did kind of forget about the double half thing. I was just sort of playing the game instead.
Mission accomplished.
3, 2, 1. New objective received.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to get the bot to highlight it. What I could do is
Online.
I could auto mod. I could add the word of the day to auto mod, and then when someone says it, their message would be blocked, and I would get a notification. I think we're just gonna go mutant here. I could maybe just go blind double half, or like not quite blind, but close to blind. But against Solomon as well, that seems pretty bad. Yeah, I think against a Solomon player, we kind of have to just try and win the first missile normally. This Scarab is a terrible play. I'm still doing it, but I don't know why. Where are you going, mutant? Oh my god. I think this mutant just lost me the game.
Unit offline.
Maybe not. Maybe we're okay. Maybe we actually just win the missile, like heroes.
Missile cancelled.
Oh my god, we're the best. Alright, now we can go double half now.
Unit offline.
What's in here? Chuggy? Sure. But I do have to make mutant to fight dog. I don't really want to walk into a two dog concave. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but I really just don't really want to. Generally speaking, I don't like walking into concaves. Played quite a lot of rivals, it's usually a bad play.
Building online.
Not very friendly, trying to kill my harvester like that. Look how long it takes a Chuggy to kill shots.
Unit offline.
Way too long, man. Like, Chuggy is just not good now. Chuggy needs a buff. I actually think, like, if they want to, if the cloud damage, if it's going to take longer to lay down the cloud, which I think is like it was a pretty reasonable nerf. I think, first of all, it shouldn't be quite as long as it is. I think you could do, like, a little bit faster and it would be okay. And secondly, I think you could increase its base damage. Like, make it less about the cloud and more about the base damage. That would maybe be okay. I understand that Chuggy was, like, absolutely dominant for a really long time, so I see why people don't want to have, like, a buffed Chuggy. But also, I'm about to win the game. I might actually, like... I kind of want to build an avatar. Oh, no, it didn't matter. He wasn't on enough pads.
Building online.
Alright, well, there you go. 10-0 with the tech decks.
Objective complete.
As you can see, basically 3 combat units, easily doable. Like, the third one's a little slow, but it's definitely doable with 2 Harvester. The 4th one takes quite a long time, which is why double Harvester is so awkward. I was surprised at how long it took before the 4th unit was achievable. We were talking like, it was like 2:30 or something before we were realistically getting that 4th unit out consistently, which is a lot later than I thought it would have been. So yeah, some important lessons in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of a little bit of taste of what it's like to get a tutoring. And yeah, build units. That is the #1 tip I can give everyone in Rivals to improve. Just make sure that every time you can build a unit, build a unit. There is nuance to that, and it's not always true. But I would say that until you are good enough that you are building a unit every single time you can build a unit, don't worry about the nuances. Like, don't worry about the whole, like, oh, is it correct to build a unit here? Because if you're not capable of building a unit every single time a unit can be built, you are not good enough to work out when you're not supposed to follow that rule. That would be my take on it. Until you're good enough to always build a unit, you are not good enough to stop following this rule. Because obviously every rule has exceptions, but you need to be good enough to understand when you don't follow the rule. And if you're not following the rule, then you're not good enough yet to make those exceptions. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.